Aquanet.
I use a ton of it.
Me too.
Aquanet. Man, I used so much Aquanet when I was in high school. It should have been illegal. I may have single-handedly been responsible for causing depletion of the ozone layer in the 80s with the amount of...
Did you have a helmet made up from your hair?
I did. I would literally go like this, and it would look like my hat. It would just be like completely solid. It didn't move at all.
That's funny.
Also had the LA Looks gel at one point.
Yep. I remember the smell of that.
Oh, yeah. So, good stuff. Hey, welcome, Savage Reaction Crew. I'm David.
I'm Angie.
I'm a little bit of everything.
I'm a whole lot of rock and roll.
Yeah, so before we continue on with today's show, which I think you're kind of picking up the hints on what it might be about, make sure that you go down and you hit that subscribe button.
Like.
Share.
Ring that little bell.
And comment down below. We want to know what's going on with you. Plus, it helps the algorithm. Lets us, get bumped up there. So, yeah. Today's show is going to be top 10 decade-defining fashion trends of the 1980s. I was all up in these fashion trends because I was just the right age. You were still a kid for a lot of the 80s.
Yeah. I did some of the stuff, I'm sure.
Some of them.
Yeah.
But, I was a young person and then a teenager in the 1980s. So that was my story. So
there we go.
Unless they don't hit guy fashion trends, we should probably see some of the stuff that I wore.
Let's just see.
All right.
Let's just hit it.
Excuse me. Sorry for that.
It was flashbacks of the Aquanet.
Yeah, all that. My brain was like, Aquanet, make him sneeze. We'll fix him. All right, here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, and action.
Hit it. Oh, your favorite.
If you were rocking the skier back in the day, then consider yourself totally rad.
You look so much better.
I am totally rad.
Yeah, I got my hair done.
Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 decade-defining fashion trends of the 1980s.
Hey, you guys know anything from the 20th century?
For this list, we're taking our souped-up DeLorean back in time to the excessive 1980s in order to recall all of the wild and wacky fashions which most resonated with the public during this decade. Clothes, hairstyles, and accessories will all be considered, just so long as they echo pleasant, or maybe not so pleasant, memories of this visually unique period in time.
I was pretty. My mother told me so.
Number 10. Scrunchies.
Veronica, finally.
Hair accessories
Love
were all the
scrunchies.
rage during the 1980s, with very few being as popular as that faithfully strong tie known as the scrunchie. This fabric-covered elastic came in a variety of shapes and colors,
They're back,
and served as the perfect alternative when
What's
that
that?
favorite
Scrunchies.
headband
Oh,
just
yeah.
wouldn't make the grade. Plus,
I know,
the
my
soft
daughter
outer
has
covering
lots
of the
of them.
scrunchie made sure hair was never torn out or damaged, no matter how high it was or how much Aquanet
love
hairspray
scrunchies.
was applied.
Oh, there's the
To
Aquanet.
hold that soft, natural look, new Aquanet non-aerosol hairspray with silk protein.
Oh, I didn't have the non-aerosol.
What?
I had the aerosol.
Number
Yeah.
9. Mini skirts.
Mini
Although this
skirts.
next fashion trend first sparked public interest and outcry back in the swinging 60s, the miniskirt proudly lived on throughout the 2 decades which followed its debut. What separates the 80s miniskirt from so many of its predecessors, however, was the material used for its production.
Oh, you are so popular.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of like the Beatles of the 20th century.
It wasn't long before denim, leather, and even lycra miniskirts began showing up in films and on television, while simultaneously gaining popularity with those who just wanted to show off a little leg.
What's all you doing?
I'm giving you some ventilation, so the heat can get through.
Oh, it's all right, bud. I don't mind if you peep.
Number 8.
Oh.
The yuppie look. The hippie look of Birkenstocks, flowers, and beads was all but dead in the 1980s, replaced instead with what was essentially an about-face of those who protested and fought the establishment at Woodstock.
And this is Pinpoint Oxford. Well, aren't you, Mr. Highty-Tighty?
Greed is good, proclaimed Michael Douglas as Wall Street character Gordon Gekko.
Greed?
for lack of a better word, is good.
And the yuppie look was indeed a reflection of these
Did you dress like that? Do you have a members only jacket?
I did, and I popped my collar.
Did you pop your collar? Did you have a skinny tie?
I did.
Did you have one of those skinny leather ties?
I did.
My brother had all those.
Yep. And I had a fedora.
And a fedora.
I don't know if that was a
financially extravagant times.
I just slide that wad over to my father, because he is like one of the top brokers in the state.
Suits, ties, and perfectly coiffed hair were de rigueur for yuppies, short for young urban professionals, as were sweaters tied around the neck.
I didn't know that's what that was short for.
You didn't know that?
I had no idea. I've learned something from this.
Wow, that's funny.
Patent leather shoes and yachting gear.
It's this prep school thing. It's throwing my game off.
There's still some
Dressing
people
to
that dress
impress,
like that, though.
as opposed to dressing down for
Everything
comfort.
comes back.
Hi, Courtney. Love your cardigan.
You know who doesn't dress like
It's
that?
got a Last Life Limited.
Fetterman.
Like, totally blew my allowance.
Number 7, the Miami Vice.
You want to get high?
Yeah, I dress like that
Serve
too.
the purpose, you understand what I'm saying?
It's difficult to explain to
Pastels.
those who weren't around during the 1980s how much of an impact just one television program could
Never the
have
pastel
upon an
pink.
audience.
The blue.
But this was indeed the case with producer Michael
Salmon.
Mann's decade-defining cop
Salmon.
show, Miami Vice.
I feel like you could only pull that up in Florida. Pull it up. Off in Florida. Oh,
Whoa!
Along with costume designer
Weird.
Jody Tillon, Mann's vision was a cop show which stood in strict opposition to its funky predecessors from the 1970s, bringing with it a fashion sense firmly entrenched in the 80s
Don
MTV
Johnson.
generation. Pastel colors, flowing white sport coats, designer stubble, and those perfect
Designer
Ray-Ban
stubble.
wayfarers were the
That's me,
epitome of
designer
80s
stubble.
cool, as well as an essential tool for kickstarting
his
actor
hair.
Don Johnson's
Ray-Bans.
claim to fame.
you look good. Oh, no.
You shot my briefcase!
Number 6,
Yikes.
lots of makeup.
Yes.
Wearing lots of makeup was nothing new in the 1980s,
lots of
but the
makeup.
onset of music television during this decade made the art of visual expression all the more important for just about everyone.
I'm a fan of lots
Case
of
in point,
makeup.
just check out all of the
Oh,
extravagant makeup utilized in
Bowie.
movies like Labyrinth, animated television shows
Gem.
like Gem, or presented in just about any music video aired during the early days of MTV. The 1980s were all about radical, boundary-pushing visual style, and this sentiment was definitely echoed in how normal, everyday people reflected these wild and out-there artists who were reaching into their living rooms. Number 5, neon.
Lots of neon.
It almost seems like a cliche at this point, but neon really was everywhere during the 1980s, permeating nearly every facet of popular culture.
I'll pay for the movie if you pay for the popcorn. Okay, but listen, how much is popcorn? $2.50.
And why not? Brightly colored clothes were a fashion statement, a rallying call out to any within eyeshot that said, "Hey, look at me."
I wore a lot of neon.
Bands especially seem to pound
I'll even admit, contrary to what look I wound up settling upon that I'm most comfortable in, there was a time I wore neon pink when I was a kid.
All right then.
Yeah, I would not be caught dead in that now. But when I was young, I wore it though. It was fun.
pounce hard on the neon trend, trying on a seemingly endless array of attention-grabbing, gaudy neon colors, meant to drive as many eyeballs back to what they were doing. And you know what? It worked.
I would never recognize Kiss like that.
Number 4, acid wash denim.
I had those.
Yep, me too.
Do you remember you'd find like the little rock stuff in the pockets too? When you got like a new pair?
Yeah.
They're like, it was almost like chalky,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
For everyone out there who wears any sort of distressed jeans, you have these gaudy grandfathers to thank for your keen sense of fashion.
Sergio is the natural element of style.
Acid wash denim, preceded by stonewash jeans, which use
Oh, that was
pumice to attain its
stonewash.
faded appearance,
Stonewash,
is a type
yeah.
of denim that has been worn down and made to look weathered and well worn.
Hey, don't listen to him, Kelly. There's nothing gonna stop me from going to that dance.
Though pumice is also used to attain
Yeah,
the acid
Kelly.
wash jeans look, no acid is actually used during the distressing process, despite its name. The end result is not only a cool as hell rocking pair of jeans,
Menudo.
but also a soft and comfy one as well, as the weathering process breaks down the denim, making it instantly feel like your most favorite thing in the world.
This week is the annual sweetheart dance when a guy gives away his heart. I guess who I want to give my heart to? I'll give you a clue. It ain't him.
Number 3,
I had a crush
wild
on
hair.
him.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Okay, it's no secret that the 1980s were practically defined by weird,
Huge hair.
wild hair.
Big hair.
I'm Kelly, and this is Matt. I'd like you to meet us.
There's just no escaping this fact, and it was prevalent in
Mine
nearly
was
every
kind of
aspect of popular
mullety
culture,
was the
from
style
the music
when I
to
was
the
young
movies to
at that
network and
time.
cable television.
But then there was-
It seems as if everyone felt the need to one-up his or her neighbor.
You'd take the curling iron, a big fat curling iron, and you'd split your bangs. So half the bangs you'd curl up, and you'd spray it, and then take the curler iron out, so it just did like this bubble up. And then you take the curling iron and go down with the bottom ones, and those would come out like that. And you'd spray those.
Wow.
So you'd have, yeah, it was a whole thing. Girls, you know what I'm talking about. You didn't go through that much.
In terms of how crazy, how high, or how bizarre he or she could get their hair.
Good song.
Business casual mullets, hair metal perms, and
Toast
new wave
Tables.
extension experiments.
Hey, Bowie.
Yeah, the 80s had all of that.
She's so rad! Thanks for coming down. You're welcome, Miss Q. Stacy.
Number 2, shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads.
I had shirts with shoulder pads.
Jason Dean.
Some 80s fashion trends have, for
Yep.
better or worse, made moderately successful comebacks over the years. Yet the decade's penchant for shoulder pads seems to
Whoa.
be very much a product of its time.
Yeah, that
Though it
needs to
must be
stay
noted that they were briefly
Yeah.
brought back during
Some
the
of those shoulder
revival of
pads are
80s
a
styles
little
in
too
the
much.
early 21st
Yeah.
century. It may seem crazy that the everyday business person or even young student might have the desire to utilize shoulder pads, which gave his or her torso the appearance of a football linebacker. But this was indeed the popular style of the day.
You're bluffing, Crystal. You know you are.
Yeah, Crystal.
Am I? Watch me.
Musicians and actors were no strangers to wearing shoulder pads either,
Yep.
making this unique fashion trend one which just about anyone could pull off, with varying degrees of success, of course. Before we reveal our most definitive fashion statement of the 1980s, here are a few honorable, or depending on your taste,
mentions.
dishonorable mentions.
Hammer pants. I had hammer pants. They were so comfy.
I take exception with this.
I think they're an honorable mention.
They should not be honorably mentioned. And since Miss Mojo's on my list anyway for previous infractions, I'm not going to cut her any slack. That song, MC Hammer, 1990. That is not an 80s trend.
You know, that's
Hammer pants,
it's true. Good point.
1990s.
Good point. Yeah.
So
That said, I did love my hammer.
you fail. But please carry on.
Did you look that up?
Because I suspected there was something wrong with it.
I don't know what that last one was supposed to be.
I don't know either. But geometric pattern.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Did you, yeah.
Number 1, aerobic/athletic
Oh,
gear.
John Travolta.
That pulsing, undulating beat. The skin-tight leotards. Those crazy exercise moves. Folks in the
Leg
1980s were
warmers.
obsessed with the culture of
I love
aerobics
leg
and
warmers.
athletic gear.
They were
and
so
it
cool.
showed.
You put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
The popularity of aerobics brought with it the decade's penchant for leg warmers, leggings, and stirrup pants.
Leg
and combined
warmers.
with it, jazzy, upbeat classes of
stirrup
group
pants?
exercise.
Yes, I had a lot of stirrup pants. Yeah.
Indeed, it wasn't uncommon for folks to walk around town wearing their aerobics or athletic gear, regardless of whether or not they even intended to do any actual
Yeah, I
exercise.
never did aerobics.
It was enough just to be seen rocking the fancy
Kinda
gear,
like yoga
proving that
pants
you too
nowadays.
could get
Yeah.
physical like Olivia Newton-John. That is, if you wanted to.
Moment of silence. Olivia Newton-John.
Okay.
You know, she passed away.
Okay.
Didn't know if you remembered that. Anyway. Okay.
Do you agree with our list? Which fashion trends do you think define the most excellent 80s?
Did you see that? Heather #1 just looked right at me.
For more tubular top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to Ms. Mojo.
1, 2, 3, Hot Sunday!
We'll be great. We'll be awesome. We'll knock him down,
Well, that was fun.
All
That was
right,
silly.
so name one thing that you thought should have been on that list.
That should have been on that bracelets, jelly bracelets, jelly shoes.
There you go. All right,
Jellies.
you ready for mine?
Yeah.
Parachute pants.
Oh,
I had them.
Oh, windbreakers.
I said one. You broke
I know,
the rule.
but the parachute pants remind me of that, and it was like a whole windbreaker set,
Yes.
like because of the pants. But you could also have the jacket too.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I had the windbreaker jackets were so cool. Like you were a cool kid if you had those.
All right, if you're from that era, put down in the comments.
Did
Let
you
us
wear
know.
any of these?
Did you wear any of these, and which ones do you think they missed? Like the ones that we managed to come up with, and which ones do you think? Do you agree with me on the hammer pants thing? Because I feel like I'm right.
Yeah.
I don't think
That was
I don't think
90s.
it was a thing in the 80s.
It wasn't 80s. That was 90s. I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
He came out with those hammer pants, and he released that song, and then
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Oh, hey, look at those pants, cool." So
Yeah.
anyway,
Cool.
hey,
All right.
before you go, please make sure you go subscribe,
Like,
share,
hello, Bell.
and comment down below. It helps with the algorithm. And until next time, peace.
Rock on.